So the first speaker today is somebody who I worked with Bill in the same team before I moved to Shadow Pensions, who I think there wasn't a meeting that went by without Bill constantly agitating, advocating, pressing forward, both with immediate measures around small business, so speaking up for small business, but also progressively developing that role of Labour as the party of small business. No finer champion of the small business community than our first speaker, Bill Esterson, the Shadow Minister for Small Business.
Thank you very much, Jack, and can I return the compliment? It was brilliant working with Jack in the same team. He always was able to bring the perspective of great experience, some of which you've just heard, but also from the trade union movement. And let's never forget the importance of us being the party of the worker as well as the party of business, as we aspire to be now, as Jack so eloquently expressed just now, because actually high paid workers are good for business too, aren't they? Because if you are well paid, you can buy the goods and services that businesses sell and create, and that is absolutely as it should be. So Labour has to get out there, Labour has to advocate, and that's what, as Jack described, I've been trying to do for the last 3 years in one of my two roles, the other being international trade, because it's essential that people understand the Labour Party is there for entrepreneurs, for people who want to start a business, people who want to grow a business, and not just for people in the public sector, as sometimes our enemies characterise. And that is the future. That will get us many more votes to get us into government. And increasingly, Jack and I and our other colleagues find that in the business community there is a greater understanding, a greater interest in what Labour has to say. I was with the North West CBI Regional Council on Wednesday in Liverpool, having a very similar conversation with them, and we are pushing at an open door with businesses of many sizes. In fact, many people now go to work in the private sector who have the same values as the Labour Party. Many of them are Labour Party members, and many of them are inspired by that brilliant manifesto last year and want to help us get into government to deliver on an agenda of investment in our businesses, in our communities, and in the future prosperity of the people of this country. And what role can councils play when they are Labour run? Because it is an essential role in demonstrating what Labour does when we have power. Because that is how you build confidence. That is how you get people to vote for you on a national scale. We did it in the run-up to 97, and we're doing it again now in the run-up to whenever that election comes, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I tell you what, we're ready for it whenever it is called. I don't know about you, but I was hopeful when the podium was wheeled out in front of Downing Street the other day that there would not be a logo on it, and that she would be announcing that she'd have another go at calling a general election. Sadly, we were to be disappointed. But the way the chaos in the Tory party is unfolding, the way that the Brexit extremists on the one hand and the others, shall we say, on the other hand, are fighting each other, it cannot continue for very much longer, surely, to goodness. So we have to be ready. But in the meantime, demonstrating what Labour is doing now is essential in very, very difficult circumstances, facing unprecedented cuts, nowhere greater than in this great city of Liverpool, where Liverpool City Council has had the biggest set of cuts of any local authority in the country. And yet, there is so much good practice from Labour in local government. We're going to hear about some of it in a few minutes' time. I was at a briefing with Matthew, your council leader, just a few weeks ago, hearing about the great things that can be done if you buy locally, if you have a procurement policy that brings in the whole of the public sector as one in deciding to support the local economy. And the transformation it's made in the economy in and around Preston has been remarkable over a short number of years. And it's a model I know as a party we are very keen to share elsewhere, and I know that other councils do some very good things, none more so than my own authority of Sefton, just up the the road from the conference centre, where they support SMEs through the supply chain. The leader of the council, Ian Mayer, was very keen to remind me yesterday that they have a policy of prompt payment. And goodness, as Jack said, have I worked hard, and Jack has, on trying to get the government to do something similar. And you only have to compare the way Labour councils across the country pay promptly, sometimes early, and look after their smaller firms, with the scandal, the chaos, the disaster that was Carillion. And I'm afraid you only have to look a few hundred yards from here to see the consequences with the unfinished Royal Liverpool Hospital and the catastrophic effect that that is having on healthcare in the communities of this great city region. Jack has a similar story to tell in Birmingham, and they're a little further forward in unravelling that, but nevertheless the campaign continues here, because one of the problems there was the failure to pay suppliers promptly, and in fact Carillion extended its payment terms, not from the 60 days that it was signed up to with the prompt payment code, but to 120 days. And it's no surprise there are 30,000 small businesses owed £2 billion as a consequence of the failure of Carillion. That cannot be acceptable, that cannot be the way to go, and it's why what Labour does in local government sets a shining example of how to do it right. We lead by example in local government. Councils can do so much. Stevenage owns much of the property in its town centre and is able to determine what goes on there. I'm conscious of the brilliant work that Sadiq Khan has done as Mayor of London. He came in as the most business-friendly Mayor of London ever, and my golly, he's delivered on that agenda. He's got Rajesh Agarwal as his entrepreneur in residence as the Deputy Mayor for Business. They've set up the £100 million fund for scale-ups. They're supporting BME business people. They are doing so much to support small businesses and entrepreneurs through a policy that is geared especially at what makes a difference to the economy. That is Labour in government now delivering for the people of this country. It's happening here in the Liverpool City region, where with far fewer resources, Steve Rotherham, the Metro Mayor, has committed £5 million to supporting our high streets and town centres. Andy Burnham is doing the same in Manchester. It's not a lot, but it does make a difference. And that focus on towns is so important, because that's where we've seen the real problems with a fall in living standards, people feeling excluded and left behind. It's one of the reasons people voted in such large numbers for Brexit in those parts of the country. We as a party have to take head on the challenge of how we return people to prosperity in parts of the country that have suffered so much more under austerity than in the big cities where Labour is all powerful. And we can do it through our local councils now, but in the end that success will only come if we can get into government and reverse the cuts so that local government has the resources to deliver. I was a councillor for 15 years before I became an MP in 2010. I was an opposition councillor for much of that time. But early on in Medway we were in power, we were able to change the dynamic, we were able to deliver, we were able to start a programme of housing in derelict riverside locations along the River Medway that are coming to fruition now 25 or 30 years later. That long-term approach that Labour can deliver is incredibly important and really works. So councils can lead by example now. They can help Labour get into government by demonstrating what is possible now. They are crucial to the growth, the improvement in prosperity that our people now need. The success of business is crucial also to increasing the tax revenues that pay for the services that we all rely on, whether that's the health service, schools and police, or local government. They are equally important. We as a party don't shout loudly enough about what a good job local councillors do. I don't just say that because I was a councillor, but I know how hard councillors in my constituency and across the country work. You deserve as much praise as possible. You deserve our full support, and if we give you that support, the return will be that you will help us by demonstrating what you can achieve to get that Labour government into power, to deliver on that manifesto that we had that gave people so much hope last year. and to transform this country with the kind of policies that are needed for the people of this country, for the many, not the few. Thank you very much.